Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first little video that we're going to do talking about the transurfing concepts. And we're going to start at the beginning. I am here with Eric Smith, who is a moderator alongside me and the other moderators at the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group. So Eric had an idea of us creating a video on each of the concepts, sort of talking about the concept from the perspective of me being a little bit more advanced of a transurfer and Eric being the beginning transurfer. So yeah, we're gonna try to reconcile some of the different points of each concept. We're gonna start with the space of variations where Vadim Zeland starts. Yep. And yep, we'll just kind of wing it. It's going to be pretty organic. I hope everybody enjoys what we're going to do. And yeah, we'll just get started. So how's it going, Eric?
Hey, it's going great. How you doing, Renee?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. No
Excellent.
Complaints. Yep, my world's taking care of me.
That's right. That's right. You're the queen of transurfing, so I would expect that. I'd expect that from you.
I try. It's really funny, this whole queen of transurfing thing. I mean, I'm kind of running with it now. It's like, it's fun. It's like I'm a character in a movie or a book or playing a part or something. I don't know. It's hilarious, but I'm just like, I'm rolling with it. I'm actually now referring to myself as the queen of transurfing because other people have been saying it and whatever, you know?
Yeah, whatever, that's the thing. And, for me, really, I mean, it's just fun, just taking things lightly, not taking it too seriously and just kind of rolling with it, exactly. And, so I guess I'll give a little bit of background on myself.
Go for it.
I'm a designer by trade, and I came across transurfing about 3 years ago, I'd say, maybe 2.5-ish. I was at my old job, and I was really going through a hard time, and I was looking at ways in which I could manage myself, manage my emotions, going through a lot of personal development stuff, listening to stuff by like people like Jim Rohn, a lot of Tony Robbins, things like that. And then I stumbled upon Reality Transurfing on YouTube, and that was suggested to me. And it's like 5 minutes into it, it was making so much sense. I was like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah.
And so I listened through the whole thing. I think it was like a 5-hour video. And in a matter of days.
Was it the Space of Variations audiobook?
Yeah, it was the Space of Variation audiobook. And it has like this weird soundtrack too. It was kind of trippy.
Yeah.
so
I actually have to show everyone this. This is going to blow people's minds that I even have this, okay? This is how old school of a transurfer I am. Check this out. It's impossible to find now, but I have the OG, okay, Reality Transurfing Space of Variations audiobook, MP3 little thing that you plug in to headphones, and it's got it all on there. And look at the back, it's all chapters. The space of variations, pendulums. Isn't that super cool?
That's very cool.
This is like a collector's item, and it's got a little it's got little instructions how to listen to it and how to use transurfing.
Wow.
I know. It came with headphones, and I actually know the guy that made that video. But yeah, he did the soundtrack and everything. Check that out. It's like,
wow. That's pretty cool.
I know, isn't that cool? I've got 2 of these, and one day I'm gonna hold a contest, and I'm gonna give one of them as a gift.
Right on.
Yeah.
Right on. I mean, that's definitely a collector's item right there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
cool. So that's how come I've gotten into reality transurfing. And yeah, so just more recently, I think a couple of months ago, just listening to the podcast that you guys put out, I jumped on the group,
Yep.
and it's been just a ride since. And for me, it was a way to reinforce some of the knowledge that I had acquired. But again, I think the reason why I think this is a good thing is that you acquire this knowledge, it makes so much sense. You start living by it, and then all of a sudden you forget and you become reactive again. And so for
Yeah.
me, I think this will be a great thing for especially people who are starting off. And I still consider myself as starting off because I don't apply it quite as consistently as you do. So I think it will be a good thing for us to kind of go through these concepts and just
Yes.
break them down. And
Yes.
I'll be definitely very interested in knowing your perspective on these things.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it's about and that's why I've been so active in the Facebook group and so active on my Instagram, and I'm writing things all the time and I'm talking to people. I mean, I get a ton of emails and DMs and private messages, and like, I'm just responding and talking to people to Transurfing all the time. And I think that doing all this stuff, it really helps just solidify this knowledge in my mind. I mean, I am like living, breathing, transurfing all the time. And yeah, just like even this for me, we'll have this talk now. I did that interview with Brian Scott the other day. For like
Right.
2 days afterwards, I was high on transurfing, because
Yeah.
we just talked about it so intensely. And that's why I do this stuff. I mean, it's really just about immersion, talking about it and keeping it in the front of your mind, because like I said in one of my videos that I made recently, you have this programming that, I don't know how old you are, Eric, but like, in your 30s, you're up against 30 years of programming, 40 years
Right.
of programming.
Yeah.
You're not going to just read a book and reprogram your mind. You gotta stay in it. You got to
Yeah.
stay in it. You got to talk about it. You got to really just wade in these
Yeah.
concepts and just kind of like be there, marinating in it. And
Yeah.
then it starts to stick. And then you really do get to a place ultimately, which is what happened to me. And I know other transurfers that are in this place too, where you switch over, but maybe you're not all the way like 100%, maybe
Yeah.
not even 90%, but you're like maybe 70%, right? But you notice when you
Right.
go back to your original way of thinking,
Yeah.
and that's the key, is that when you do that you catch yourself and you go, nope, there's a new model now, go back to
Yeah.
the new model, and you just
Yeah.
keep bringing yourself back around. And man, it's just like my reality, my environment, my external environment, my internal reality, things are just flowing. And I, like right now, I've got a little bit of a lull in business because, we're coming up on the holidays and, there's not a ton of business, but it's
Yeah.
like, man, before transurfing, when this happened, I would just start panicking. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Right. Right.
Catastrophizing. I would be thinking like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I'm going to have to get a job now or something bad, and I would just start doing all this stuff. But
Yeah.
the interesting thing is like, doing all that stuff to yourself doesn't mean that it's going to create something in your reality that's good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Panicking, tripping, having this like fire sale mentality, like, oh shit, it's all coming undone,
Yep.
it
Absolutely.
doesn't do anything for you. So yeah, just
Absolutely.
sticking with my world's taking care of me regardless of what's going down,
Right.
man.
Yeah. And I think that segues for me into, the first concept, which is the alternative space, and
Yes.
just I think that was for me, like, to me, it was a mind-blowing concept, but at the same time, it made so much sense to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it, but it's like something that is so foreign, but at the same time, something that feels very true. And for me, it was like, wow, everything that has already existed, is in there. Everything
Yes.
that will be is in there, everything that is, and it just made so much sense to me. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's a powerful concept that really can allow you the space. I mean, to realize some things that you just maybe have had, immense challenges in even understanding that are there for you. I mean,
right,
that was my problem before transurfing is, I was limited in my thinking,
right,
because my thinking consisted of my worldview and my worldview alone. There wasn't room for it to expand. Right.
right,
So then when I became aware of this concept of the space of variations, it was just like, oh man, I can relax and expand into this outward environment that I didn't really know was there for me. And now, like I
right,
say to people, is the space of variation should be viewed like your treasure chest.
right,
It's got everything that you want, but
right,
the thing is you've gotta be able to determine what it is you're looking for first,
right,
and then figure out a way to connect with it there. But again, connecting with it is the beginning step, with connecting with material or an event or something in the space of variations outside of you. Connecting with that begins with your mind. You got to
right,
think of it first, right?
right.
And then that thought energy connects you with that material or that event or that person or whatever it is outside of you via your thought energy, right? So
Yeah,
it starts there. It starts
right.
there.
Yeah. So, the one interesting thing that it said, and that I had a question, is that it said in the book that you don't need to change yourself, but to change the way that you see things. And that, to me, is like one
Oh
of the
yeah.
first challenges, when it comes to, I understand the concept that, okay, everything is already there,
Yeah.
in the alternative space. And so, by the way, is the alternative space, is that the same thing as the space of variations?
Yes. Yes. So good,
Okay.
good that you're calling that out now. So, yes, the alternative space and the space of variations are the same thing. It's just a different translation. I'm the old school translation. I was transurfing and reading about it before, Transurfing steps 1 through 5 came out, which has a new translation. So yes, if any of you see me post anything anywhere that says SOV, that's space of variations. That means the alternative space, right? That's how,
Right.
yeah, the alternative
Right.
space.
Okay.
So yeah, either way. I just say SOV now because I
Yeah.
never took to the newer translation, but yeah, it's
Cool.
whatever book you read.
Yeah. Yeah. So, not changing self, but changing the way that you see things. You know, if can you expand on that a little bit? Because for me, I'm like, well, I know that I'm not, well, if I'm not changing, myself, but yet I'm changing the way that I look at things. But isn't that, in a way, changing myself? But let me just add this thing too, because I know that a lot of personal development are very much big on, now you got to change yourself. You got to do this and do that and do the other thing.
Did
So
you
I
see me
kind
wince?
of get,
Did you see me wince just now? Like, I'm like, ugh.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one part of transurfing that really jumped out to me. right? Nobody
Right.
is asking me to do anything, change myself. It's about changing my perception of the world that exists outside of me, right?
Right.
One of the things that I talk a lot about is, highlighting information in your environment to support the theory in your head. Right.
Right.
So you create this story about yourself, right? I am like, I'll just, you use myself as an example. So like, let's say when I was younger, I'm like, oh, well, I'm, poor white trash, and, oh, wealth doesn't belong to people like me, or it's not for people like me. And I'll never have money. I'll never do this. I'll never do this because of X, Y, and Z. And then I will pull all that information from my environment to support that theory that I've created for myself. Now, what transurfing offers to us is that you can change that story, right? Because there's infinite information in the space of variations, or the alternative space. There's infinite information that you can use to support a new theory. So when you create a new story for yourself, and you start pulling information from your environment to support that theory, you're not changing yourself. You're just changing what information you're connecting to in the alternative space. Okay. So
Yeah.
an infinite number of variations of you exist, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
not about changing yourself from, I want to go from being, in my case, I want to go from being poor white trash to being rich. What do I need to do to change myself in order to get to that new place? Well, that's where most people go wrong, because it's not about changing you. It's about looking to your environment to give you the evidence to support a variation of you that already exists, but you need to have evidence to support that new person, and you need to connect with information outside of you that's going to agree with this new theory. But most of all, you need to connect with the track or put yourself on the track where that variation of you exists and thrives. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It makes sense. So I guess as you were talking, I think the image that comes to mind for me is like, okay, so you're basically in this boat, and you're basically steering the boat, in a different direction. It's not that the boat cannot get to your destination, so you have to change, and get a different boat. It's just that, the boat is already good. All you have to do now is to, maybe change the direction so that it goes where you need it to go. Type of thing.
Exactly. And this starts with your thinking.
Right.
It starts with your thinking, because you're not going to be able to get the boat going in that direction if your thoughts aren't going in that direction too. It starts first with your thinking. And the reason that I'm doing this now with transurfing and doing everything that I'm doing is because I think I have overcome great odds with, the life that I was born into versus the life that I have now for myself. And all I've done is tapped into another variation of Renee Garcia, and went on and agreed that I was going to, go to that track, but I wasn't going to get to that track if I didn't first eradicate the thinking of the old Renee Garcia, right? The poverty mentality, these things aren't meant for me. Everyone in my family hasn't had money, all that kind of stuff. My boat would not go in the direction of new Renee Garcia if I had not, if I had just stayed in that old thinking. So the first thing that has to happen is the story has to change, right? The story has to change, period. That's the
Right.
first thing. And then
Right.
you just start living that story, right? And
Right.
pulling information from your external environment to support that story. And then
Right.
the boat starts going there. And then it starts happening exponentially faster.
Yeah, faster, right.
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, and I think that also one thing that is making me think about now is also the fact that it's so important to, like you said, change the direction of your thoughts because, when I look at the way that a lot of, the personal development gurus approach it, it's like, well, you got to change your boat. But if you change your
Mm-mm.
boat and your mental direction is still the same, you're still stuck.
Oh,
So you don't need a bigger boat, really.
and that's why a lot of people, I think, are kind of confused. Like, it there's a lot going on in the world of self-development that I think leads people in the wrong direction and actually creates the opposite effect, right? Like somebody watching a bunch of stuff on, self-development and becoming rich and all this stuff. And then they're thinking, oh God, why can't I do that?
Right.
Why is that happening for that person, but it's not happening for me, and the mere concept and the space of variations really are like kind of in line with each other in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I pull information from the space of variations or the alternative space to support the theory that I've created for myself.
Yeah.
And then I present right back out that image, right? That I
Right.
want to see reflected back at me. So it's like, the two-way mirror, right?
Right.
It all starts, and I don't want to sound too woo-woo here, like way metaphysical, but it really is kind of like a vortex or a some sort of cycle that feeds itself, right? So I pull information in to support a theory that I want, that I have created for myself. And then I push that back out. It highlights more information. Okay, you're on track. And then I pull that in, and that just keeps kind of circulating around.
Mm.
And it seems to be working because I keep like growing bigger, and I keep, doing the things that I intend to do. But the key is to maintain consistency with highlighting that information in your external environment to support your theory, right? You can't just say, oh, that over there shows me that I'm going to be rich one day, and then go back to your old way of thinking.
Yes.
You have to just be like super, super consistent. And you have to be consistent in a manner that you don't, that almost becomes just like your nature, right? You're not doing anything anymore.
Right.
You're just living like that.
Right.
And it's just become your nature. I am going to be like this, or I am like this, and it will just increase,
Right.
It's like a point I wanted to make on the video I made earlier about entrepreneurship. The difference between saying I need to be rich versus I am rich and I'm going to get more rich.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's I am rich now. I mean, if I look at my life the way that I live now in comparison to a lot of people in the world, I'm rich now, right? It's not that I want to be, or I need to be rich. It's that I'm rich now. I pull information from my environment to support that theory. Then I feel rich. I present that outwardly, and then the mirror starts responding to me more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like a very cyclical thing that's happening, but the key with it is to maintain consistency. That's the key.
Right. And I mean, since this is also for beginners, I just want to point out that the mirror that you're talking about is from Tufte, right?
Well, so the mirror is actually from Reality Transurfing, but
as well. Okay.
Tufte uses a very similar concept, and that's the frame, right? The future frame of the film reel.
The film, okay.
You know what I'm
All
saying?
right.
So it's like you can choose. You have two different options. You can view reality as a mirror that simply
Mm-hmm.
projects back to you an image of your attitudes and beliefs that you presented to it. Okay.
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 So that's the mirror. That's the mirror concept.
Okay.
But
So
the
that's
but
the
the
mirror.
that's the mirror, but the film reel frame is that you are projecting up onto that future frame the image and material of what it is you intend to be, have, or do in the future. And you're moving through those frames, putting as much material on those frames as you can that support that end objective, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then
Okay.
finally that end frame, which is your goal, right, that matches up with your current reality, and you essentially become the person that you presented onto that future frame. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so
That
it's
makes sense.
whatever
Okay.
it's whatever one you connect with the most. I
Right.
personally connect with the mirror world a little bit more,
Yeah.
but like with my real estate thing that I did, I read Tuffy, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to apply these techniques like specifically to getting my real estate license and making money in the real estate world,
Okay.
and I just followed that to a T. I mean, I really did everything that was in the book. I was just like very, very, consistent, and just kept doing all that stuff. And what I was thinking in my mind at the time was, oh, the mirror's responding really fast to me, but it wasn't the mirror. It was the future frame was just moving in front of me super fast. Like I found
Mm.
success in the real estate business, and like 2 months after I got my license, I already had like four sales,
Wow. Yeah.
It happened super fast.
Right. And so to me that
Hang on one second here.
yeah.
My noise. Okay, we're good.
Okay. All right. So to me, when you talk about the mirror, it brings me to the principle of variability, which in the book it says that it's like life manifests in an infinite number of forms, which all stems from the same source, basically. So now, with that said, with life being this sort of expanse of all these choices that are manifesting in different ways. Now that Vadim talks about, a script and a scenery, and that part for me is where, like, I understand very clearly the space of variation. Now when it begins to come down to a script and a scenery, I was wondering if you could maybe give me like an example that would sort of solidify, what's the script, versus the scenery.
Yeah, the set and
And yeah,
decorations, all that kind of stuff.
right.
Okay, so this has also been a little bit ambiguous for me for a lot of years. Like I
Okay.
kind of didn't know sometimes what he was talking about when he would talk about the set and decorations.
Right.
But this is, and I don't know when I sort of clarified in my mind all these little bits of the space of variations. But
Yeah.
but I have. And what it boils down to is again, highlighting information in your environment that supports your theory. So
Okay.
I'll give you a couple of examples, okay? Or I'll give
Okay.
you one example, and I'll give you two different scenarios, and then I'll break it down to kind of explain what the set and decorations is there.
Okay.
And I'm going to go more into this. I'm actually getting ready to put out a little series that is going to be me just explaining what parts of each concept have helped me. And it's not going to be interview style. It's just going to be me speaking. So this is how I kind of came to this idea in creating this other thing that I'm doing. And I'm going to use the same example that I gave in that. So let's say that you are, looking for a job, okay? And you get a call for a job interview, okay? And you immediately start kind of like panicking, and you're nervous about the job interview, and the morning of the job interview, you wake up, you don't feel really prepared. Again, you're nervous. Your car battery is dead in your car, so you show up to the interview late. You spilled some coffee on your shirt. You go into the interview feeling kind of, frazzled and not at your best. You feel as you walk out that you didn't get the job. Okay. And you walk out of the building and you notice that the sky is gray. You see a homeless person on the street that makes you feel a little depressed. You feel like you don't have any money in your wallet. You don't know when your next money is going to come. And you just sort of don't feel that good in your mind or about your external environment. You're kind of not focusing on anything positive. Your bad encounter at the interview, your negative thoughts kind of makes reality look a certain way externally. Okay. The cloudy sky, seeing the homeless person, not feeling like you have money in your wallet, all that stuff. That's kind of like the scenery, right? That's the scene you've created. Right. And the set and decorations is the track, right? And the decorations are the stuff that you're highlighting that's in line with your shitty quality, thought quality.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's you living on a certain track, looking at certain things that are on what consists of that track, right? And highlighting that stuff, and that's all in line with your thought quality. So second scenario, let's say you get the call for the job interview. You've dropped importance on getting a job. You're going to go into it just like guns blazing. You like, I might get this, I might not, but I'm going to have fun doing it. Your car battery's dead in the morning, just like in the first scenario. But in this scenario, maybe you don't panic about it causing you to be late. You just get on the phone, you call an Uber, you show up to the building in a brand new Prius, you feel good, you walk in, you recognize people are smiling at you, you feel confident, you go in, you think you kill it in the job interview, you walk out, and you think to yourself, oh, the sky's cloudy. That would be great if we got some rain today. Or, you focus on things in a different manner, right? You step outside, you feel like, you just killed it in the job interview. Now you've got the whole day in front of you that's free. What are you going to do? There's endless possibilities. So that is the set and decorations for that track, right? Now, all the same stuff existed, right?
Right.
The car battery was the same, right? The call for the job interview was the same. The fact that the sky was cloudy, that was the same. All the people when you walked into the building, that was the same.
Right.
It was all the same. It's just how are you going to pitch that? How are you going to pitch it to yourself? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yep. So it's almost like it's two different realities. It's almost like two different tracks. So the set and decorations for one look a certain way compared to the other one. And it's funny that you would give that example, because I can think of two examples of
Yeah.
job interviews where I went,
Yeah.
and that was the reality. The first one, I went in completely having, dropped any importance about it, went in very confidently, went in, smiling and doing
Yep.
everything, and not caring whatsoever what the outcome was going to be, but
Yeah.
yet being confident. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second one, going in with a pit in my stomach and still smiling, but
Not
deep
believing it.
down knowing that, yeah, knowing that, and also having a lot of importance on the outcome,
Yep.
because I really wanted to get that job. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, it's really interesting that you would give those examples, but that definitely captures, yeah, it definitely makes it crystal clear in my mind what the difference is between like the scenery and like the script. And I guess that sort of segues into the next thing that I want to talk about in that chapter, which is, thoughts,
Yeah.
and thought quality, and
Oh,
you know
jeez.
thought energy. I think that's the way that he
Yeah.
talks about it. Yeah, just um so he says that thought energy is basically what lights up the space of variation, and basically it's what sort of illuminates.
Yep.
I think he gave the example of like having like a light in a forest, and
Yeah.
so basically your thoughts are kind of like that light that sort of illumines like a sector of the
Yeah.
space of variation.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, as far as like thoughts being this thing that really uh crystallizes reality, is it something that you think is like apart from like me, in terms of because and I'm going to bring in a concept that is not space of variation, but that is foreign, because I want to understand sort of how you treat, how you treat your thoughts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, for me, it's like you we are born and we basically identify with our thoughts. My thoughts, is my thoughts, and it's me. And
Yep.
a lot of what I've been hearing recently, in terms of, especially in terms of like, I'd say yoga and a lot of Eastern philosophies, is that you are not your thoughts.
Yeah. Oh,
So for me, it's like, how do I use my thoughts in a way that that helps materialize the sector in a way that is what I want. And do you think that you identify with your thoughts, or do you take a more detached approach to it from a
well,
transurfing perspective?
yeah. So the Russian mysticist, I don't know if you're familiar with Gurdjieff. I don't know if you've read a lot of his stuff, but he talked a lot about identifying with things, events, external things, over identifying with them, and then that kind of becomes your point of focus, or yourself, identifying with thoughts, like saying, I'm a loser and I'm never going to have money, and identifying with that, right? Like being
Right.
like, okay, yeah, I guess, that's probably the truth, that, and we all are going to identify with thoughts more or less, always, as human beings. I mean, I think even like you know, people that have been studying this stuff their entire lives, or people that are like, you know, Tibetan Buddhists that have been studying this stuff forever, they're still not functioning 100%, right? I mean,
Right.
we're all going to fall victim to being human. You know,
right. Yeah.
at least some of the time. The thing to strive for is just improvement, right?
Yeah.
It's just improvement. But you know, the whole Eastern philosophy is like you are not your thoughts. You know, that can really be viewed in two different ways. One, you can say to yourself, the Eastern philosophy, or like your Jeff's, is don't identify with that negative thinking. That's not who you are, right? But from the transurfing perspective, you could actually look at it like this. It's not who you are if you don't want to be that person. But if you decide to identify with that, you will pull information from your environment that will support that theory about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a choice with transurfing. That's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get to decide what thoughts you want to identify with, right? And then subsequently, if you want to pull information to support whatever theory from your environment, or to support, whatever theory from your environment.
Yeah.
But the thing that Vadim's saying is that all of the evidence is there. All of it's there. Now, I know this is overwhelming for a lot of people, because it's like, oh my God, well, okay, there's evidence to support all theories. Which one do I choose? Right? Well, I'll tell you which one not to choose. You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you which one not to choose. You can choose any of them that you like. Whatever you decide you want to, whatever reality you want to create, right? Are you a loving and devoted father or mother and husband or wife? Is that the stuff that you want to do? Is that the stuff you want to go after? Do you want to go after, you're doing that and you're an entrepreneur? Do you want to do, something like you're a philanthropist, you love to give to causes that you feel passionately about? Whatever it is that you decide for yourself, right? That's going to be the stuff that you want to seek out to support whatever life you decide to have, whatever reality, however you define it, whatever it is that you have, that you want to have. But don't go after evidence to support a shitty theory about yourself. It isn't the best thing that you can think of for yourself. If you have infinite options available to you, why would you even consider taking one that isn't good for you? You know? And the thing that sucks is, like, a lot of people actually do this. You know, they're choosing a less than version of themselves. They're choosing a less than version of reality, right? And then they're spending, without even knowing it, thought energy connecting to their environment to support that less than theory about themselves and their reality. So why? If you have an infinite number of options available to you, why are you picking one? Now, I'm not trying to say you need to put pressure on yourself to figure out the most perfect one. Right? But try to think of, like, the best thing you can think of for now, you know? And go after that one. You know?
No, that makes a lot of sense. You know, and I think that the thing that I find empowering in this whole thing is that, you know, at the base of the whole transurfing, Vadim says, like, you know, it's that principle that the principle of variability, which
Yes.
means that variability, it's like everything exists, and so you get to pick, you get to choose. And one thing that he said that I really like was that um, positive mental attitude is the natural way to change our circumstance.
Oh my
um,
God.
you know and so, like you said, if you express more and more dissatisfaction, the world will offer you evidence for that.
Oh
um,
God.
you know
For
so
sure.
yeah, so I think that in terms of the alternative space, and for me as somebody who is still trying to assimilate and make these concepts sort of the bedrock of my thinking, I think this is something that I've found right off the bat very, very empowering about transurfing,
Oh,
is that there is choice. We have the
yes.
power of choice.
Yes.
Um, and then the other part is that we're not creating anything. We don't directly create anything, but it's the direction of our thought energy that sort of brings, like you said, brings the focus, brings into focus the material reality that we want, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh,
Um,
and it takes off some of the pressure, right?
right,
It's like I'm not creating anything.
right.
I'm just tapping into a variation that already exists, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah. That was a
it
huge relief.
oh God, it's huge. It's huge. And on the other hand, you know, when when I first found transurfing 5 years ago, and I was like, all of a sudden my mind was kind of blown open,
Yeah,
and then I started to think back on my past. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like
yeah,
what did I do? Like I pulled evidence to support all kinds of really, really crappy theories about
right, right.
myself and my reality and my friends and family and relationships. And once I realized what it was that I had done, and that I had not only the ability to choose, but the power to actually make that choice become something real,
Mm-hmm.
via thought quality.
Right.
I was like, oh my God,
Wow.
like
Yeah, yeah.
thank God I figured it out, because had I not, um, I would have just gone on supporting a bunch of weird theories about myself,
Mm.
and
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
I'm not even going to get into my past, but it was just like, man, there were so many times where it just wasn't cool. And I'm just so glad that I know now that if I ever get myself into, and it does happen once in a while for me, like I'll pull some funky theory out and be like, okay, well, this might not work because of this reason. And then, I start highlighting all that information in my reality to support that theory. And then, but I can catch myself now and
Right.
be like, well, wait a second. Why are you going to choose that? You know?
Yep, yep.
Why are you going to choose that? If you have other options, why are you going to choose that? Just choose another variation. And, I get a lot of messages from people that are like, oh, you're so inspiring. And, oh, thank you so much. And I'm like, I appreciate everybody saying the amazing positive things that are said about me. Believe me, it's so cool to like see people say that stuff. But at the same time, I almost laugh to myself because I'm like, okay, but the only thing I'm doing is just tapping into another variation of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody else can do that too.
Exactly, exactly.
I've
Yeah.
just harnessed the thought and the ability to be
Yeah.
able to hold on to that, you know, I want to get into this other person. I don't want to be the old one, you know, and I just stayed the course. And
Right.
anybody can do that. Anybody can do that. It does not take, and Vadim talks about it in the book a lot, and I love it. Like, you don't have, like people that are actors, right? They don't have any special qualities that we all don't have, right?
Yep.
We could all pull out charisma, and we could all pull out certain characteristics of ourselves, highlight information in our environment that supports, like, I want to be an actress, right? Had I gone down that path, I'm sure I could have been an actress, right? They don't have anything on me that I couldn't do. And it's the same with being an entrepreneur. It's the same with being a good parent. It's the same with being a good partner. You know, it's like people don't have anything on you. They're just choosing to tap into that variation of themselves more so than you are, whatever you think somebody's got on you. And they're choosing to highlight information in their environment that supports that theory about themselves or that choice. Period. You know?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the reason why more and more, as I've gotten to know more of transurfing, I think that's the reason why it has very much lessened to me the importance of, being, putting people on a pedestal, because what that says is that
I'm not like that.
Right. You're not like that. And you cannot have the same kind of quality of thought as they have. And,
totally.
And it's like, potentially in the alternative space, there is a version of me that can do that. Now,
absolutely.
It may be, far farther away in terms of being a sector, but it's absolutely there.
And you just got to present. You just got to present that to the mirror for maybe a longer period of time.
Right.
Exactly. If it's a little bit further away, so like you just have to do it a little longer with maybe a more intense consistency.
Yeah. And one note that I took from that first chapter, it says that once our thoughts are homogeneous, then we will stay on the same lifeline.
Yep.
So, so basically what that tells me is that it's not necessarily that, you're not going to have a bad thought or, an off day or anything like that. But when most of your thoughts and most of your actions are, of the same quality, then that's when you are able to sustain, staying in the same sector and staying on the same lifeline or the same life track. So that was definitely something that was very interesting to see. And now the other part is that is the choice rather than desire. So that he said, okay, you have to choose rather than desire, or I think wish. Because his wishes are from fairy tales. So I guess this moves a little bit beyond the first chapter, but I guess we can go into, do you then choose your thoughts, or do you choose, I guess my question, do you then just, is it a choice of thoughts that gets you a different outcome, or is it, thoughts and actions? And I guess, what's that difference between desire or wish versus choice?
Yeah, I get your question. And, I've gotten pretty good at like trying to explain these, because like I've done enough of the actual like applying the concepts to my life that I can use
Right.
myself and what I've done as an example. So when you ask me that question, what immediately comes to mind is, you know, me, let's say, getting my real estate license and getting a new career at almost 40 years old, right?
Right.
So when I moved here, I was kind of like suffering, I guess you could say, a little bit from like not having a lot of interaction with people professionally. I was at home a lot in my office, like working, and I'm like, man, this isn't going to work. I wasn't really feeling it. Like I feel like I needed something more, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know like what to do. I wanted you know, second or third source of income. I wanted to have a little bit more of a connection with people. But I was just like wanting those things for myself, right? I was wanting those things for myself, and I wasn't actually, for a while, like for a year, I was just kind of like complaining in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, oh man, I want this and I want that. But like what I finally arrived to via these concepts is like, okay, Renee, if you want this for yourself, shut up and like get off your ass, right?
Yeah.
Get off your ass and actually make the choice, right? To go after those things that you want. So they're no longer wants. Now it's intent, right? Now it's, I intend to have this, rather than it just being something in my mind that's kind of like off in a distance, right? God, I'd love to be able to see people during the day, or I'd love to be able to pop into an office and do some work where there's other people working, or I'd love to have this other income coming in. You know, again, just sitting there complaining about it in my mind and thinking like, not really thinking of how to get from point A to point B, but just having some abstract desire, you know, and then deciding, okay, that's it. I'm going to make the choice, right? I need to tap into the space of variations, or the alternative space. I need to figure out what my options are. Okay. Then I need to make the choice, and I need to start telling myself a different story. So my story switches over from, oh man, God, sitting in my office all day at home and just kind of like doing these businesses that are maybe a little bit tiring to me sucks. And, you know, and having that script playing in my head, and then switching over to, I'm on my way to a new career now. You know, I'm going to become a real estate agent. I've chosen what it is that I want to do, and I'm going to highlight all the information in my external environment that supports that I am going to be a money-making real estate agent fairly shortly here. And then taking all those steps, right? But the main thing is gathering the evidence to support this new thing in my mind from my external environment, and taking action, you know. That's it. And obviously Tufty really helped, as I said, that I took that book and I just really used those concepts to you know, propel me into this new choice that I created for myself. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, it definitely answers the question. And I think I guess you covered, you know, intention as well as action, you know, in a way. And I think the important thing there that I'm getting is that the difference between, you know, choosing versus wishing and desiring is just that. It's just taking action. It's just taking action. And I think the book says that, you know, that thought plus actions are the way that we change our circumstances. So I think that that's one thing that is also something that I need to be more intentional about, because it says, I think he says in the book, Vadim says something along the lines of, most people are wishing, and that wishes are not fulfilled, or that wishes are hard to fulfill.
Yeah.
It's like, and so therefore, most people, when they're thinking about something that they want, they're thinking about it in terms of, oh, like how you would wish for something and how hard it would be. But if you intend, or if you make a choice, then you're putting action behind that. And that,
Yes.
it cannot help but produce results.
Yeah.
Either you're going to get what you want, or you're going to find out that that's not what you really wanted, or it's going to show you a different way of proceeding. But I think for me, the crux of the thing is the thought quality, like like you keep referring to, just looking for evidence to
Yeah.
support. And I think that's one of the difference, I think, between those who are starting and those who are a little bit more advanced, such as yourself, where for me, I find that I look back a lot more often for evidence to that goes against what I say that I want,
Yeah.
rather than looking, and doing those actions that will rather support what I want. Because for me, as a designer and artist, it's very easy for me to just go back to the stories of, well, I'm not good enough. I can't get this thing and that, the other thing done because of this, that, and the other.
Yep.
As opposed to looking in the direction of, this is what I want, and just looking for evidence of, okay, this is what is going to support this, and this is what is going to support that. And I think that really is, for me, the main thing that I'm going to take from this chapter right now is that,
Yeah.
just make the choice and act as if that choice is true,
Yes.
and look for that evidence. Use my thought energy to illuminate that sector that has evidence for me. And
Yes.
maybe, like you said, like the vortex, at first little bits and pieces of evidence, but then it builds and it
Yeah.
builds and it builds upon itself until you get enough momentum going that it's almost instant. And
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why, when you talk about your license being, coming in, and doing deals really fast, I think part of the reason, to me, it seems like, is because you're already so much into the thing that, you know you
Yeah.
you attracted more, much more quickly.
Yeah.
And so, to me, that's really the thing that I'm taking away from this.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, yes, I had already been living as a money making real estate agent before I even got my license. Right.
Right. Right. Right.
So then when I got my license, my mirror responded, like I just took like a certain number of steps,
Yeah.
and then it was just like the mirror just was like boom,
Yeah.
or my future frame just came into play like immediately. It was just like, okay, boom, you're a real estate agent.
Yep.
And it was
Yep.
quite shocking to me that it worked so fast, and I know,
Mm-hmm.
again, we can't put a time frame on the mirror. We can't say I want this frame to come into, my current reality at this time. We
Right.
have to feel comfortable in taking the steps until that thing actually agrees, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, but if you can find out a way to be comfortable on your way to that future frame, or wait until the mirror responds to you, then it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. I mean, it's when you see it happen once for yourself, it's shocking.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. It's shocking because you're like, wow, I really did do this with my mind, you know, like I really did do this with my mind. So yeah, that's, and getting back to what you said just a few moments ago about, you know, then going back and pulling evidence to support the theory that you don't want, or that doesn't support this theory about yourself and your endeavor that you want to conquer, you know, you being a graphic designer. That will cue us up for our next talk, if you want to have it, that we'll do next time, about pendulums, because a lot of that exactly what you're talking about, that is pendulums influence, staying stuck in your mind, right? The things that pendulums have gotten you to agree to, right? Like for me, you know, that if you didn't have a job, you were irrelevant, right? That's my upbringing, my programming, right? So that was a pendulum's influence that I had to get off of me in order for me to successfully thrive in this other variation of myself. So I think that's why Vadim Zeland sets this book up the way that he does, right? You got your space of variations, your alternative space. You can pull whatever information you want to support your theory, right? And start highlighting a sector of reality that's in tune with who you want to be and what you want to have. And it's all there, but then, right, you got to manage your pendulums. So that's why it, you know, segues right into that. So should we leave it here and then just cue this up for the next time that we'll go right into pendulums?
Yep, that sounds good.
Awesome. Well, that was great, Eric. I really feel like we went deep into it. I hope you guys all enjoy this video. And obviously, if you have questions or comments here on YouTube, or if you would like to join us on the International Transurfing Institute Facebook group, we have lots and lots of active conversations about this subject and many more subjects on transurfing. So awesome. Groovy. Well, thank you so much, Eric. That was cool. And I look forward to the next one.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.